How do you portray evil in media? Very often in movies and shows where there's clearly defined bad guys and clearly defined good guys, the bad guys become tropes. The distinction between the two sides are dramatically opposed, sometimes in a laughable way, so that the audience can clearly identify with the protagonist of the story. The Star Wars universe, at least on the surface, shows the battle between darkness and light. There's nothing more evil than the dark side of the Force and the aesthetic of evil of the Empire. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, and what I'll be talking about might have been present in other Star Wars products, but when I watched Andor, I was fascinated by its portrayal of evil. I didn't know if I should make a video about it, but after watching a video Thomas Flight made, I decided I'd go at it as well. Oh, and there will be spoilers.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
Do you like Star Wars?
do I like Star Wars?
Yeah,
Which the old one or the new one?
any of them.
Yeah.
Which side do you identify with?
Inside,
Yeah, like the rebels or the Empire?
neither.
Neither. You're neutral. You're like Switzerland. You look quite neutral right now.
In a nutshell, Andor follows its protagonist, Cassian Andor, through the beginning of the Galactic Civil War, or the Revolution. Importantly, it shows the loss and sacrifice required during revolutions, but also shows the consequences of inaction in the face of an increasingly authoritarian regime. But the main takeaway of this series was, at least to me, its portrayal of evil. For so much of it, this evil isn't mustache-twirling evil, it's bureaucratic evil, it's banal evil. In its portrayal of evil, Andor offers a developed view of evil in the unambiguous black and white Star Wars universe. Let's talk about the banality of evil. In 1960, Adolf Eichmann, one of the engineers of the Holocaust, the Nazi in charge of the logistics of the genocide, was arrested and put on trial for his crimes. The trial was to be heavily covered by the media, and a lot of anticipation was built around the Nazi who was to appear in front of the public. Eichmann's face was to be public and televised. People would be able to stare at evil through their television. Philosopher Hannah Arendt, a Holocaust survivor, attended the trial to report for The New Yorker. While many expected to see the face of a fanatic monster, they were met with the face of a most boring bureaucrat. Terribly and terrifyingly normal is how Arendt described him. The reason why this normality was terrifying is because it means that anyone can commit evil, because evil isn't an inherent essential trait of someone, as we might intuitively think. There are reasons for evil. There are circumstances through which normal people can commit evil. When evil can be institutionalized as it was in Nazi Germany, you need normal people to work these institutions and commit evil. Without excusing Eichmann, Arendt said that his intentions weren't malicious. The man was just doing his job, following orders, trying to climb a professional ladder. In a way, the man was just a bureaucrat working for the wrong government. Ordinary people can do ordinary evil through ordinary means, these ordinary means being a highly regimented and organized bureaucratic structure, with bureaucrats doing their jobs and instructing cops to also do their jobs. So, to go back to Andor, we're not shown evil characters who are inherently evil, but characters who are evil through, very often, a bureaucratic and authoritarian process. And what I love about this series is that we're shown this authoritarian process through different characters. Dedra Meero and Blevin, two lieutenants at the ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau, display competition amongst officers to impress their superior, Major Partagaz. Noticeably, this increases Meero's zeal when it comes to tracking down rebellious activities. Her dedication and commitment to her work and to her duties are celebrated. She won't shy away from using coercive powers inside and outside the ISB to accomplish her tasks, and this commitment, one might argue, doesn't stem from a personal history against the rebellion or a personal commitment to the Empire and its values, but a personal dedication to her work. Her job is to secure the Empire, and she won't shy away from accusing some of her colleagues of being more interested in securing their jobs than the Empire itself. This, though it might sound like she's defending the Empire, can be interpreted as her defending her duties, which is in line with the banality of evil. She's evil because she's a dedicated employee who doesn't think about the implications of the actions necessary to complete her tasks. However, Cyril Karn is the most obvious candidate to represent the banality of evil. He is a banal man, someone dedicated to his work, defending the values which he signed up to defend: order, discipline, and justice. His zeal would be of great use to him if it didn't threaten the stability of the institution he worked for. When he is told that the death of his two colleagues weren't going to be looked into, Karn is right in believing that it should be investigated. It is, after all, his duty to look into it. The way he goes about it is evil. He does it through an occupying force, but again, these are all people just doing their jobs. What's most telling here is the speech Karn gives to his soldiers. He doesn't believe in what he's saying. His footmen aren't believing in it either. Their dedication isn't to an abstract sense of justice, but to their job and their need for approval from authority. Karn is evil. He works for the Empire, he's loyal to the Empire, he holds authoritarian values and shows no hesitation to use authoritarian power to complete his work. But Karn is an ordinary man. Nothing demonstrates this better than when we see him return to his mother's apartment. It humanizes him, shows a facet of him outside of his duty. His mother's own authoritarian, controlling nature can also explain Karn's need for control and approval from an authority. The Empire is fueled by the banality of evil. Every engineer, foot soldier, pilot, ensign are all doing their jobs, probably not thinking about the moral implication of their work. The judge who condemned Cassian to 6 years in prison was only doing her job. The guards taking Cassian away were only doing their jobs. The prison guards were also only doing their jobs. Institutions have this habit of posing themselves as natural, as unbiased and apolitical. Karn's job was to preserve order, and naturally, the opposite of that would be enabling disorder. Who would want that? Karn's job, therefore, becomes a civic duty, a necessary component of society, rather than something political. Andor portrays the banality of evil and shows how it is enabled by institutions that hide their political purpose in order to justify themselves and justify their actions. The institutions Eichmann worked for didn't pose themselves as political. They posed themselves as a necessary component of society which justified the work he did. The institutions Karn, Miro, the judge, and the riot police worked for didn't pose themselves as political. They posed themselves as a necessary component of society which justified the work they did. We have to look out and be skeptical of political institutions that claim to be unbiased, apolitical, and necessary. These are the type of institutions that enable ordinary people to not think of the political implications of their work and commit ordinary evil. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing if you have already. And as always, I'd like to thank Roman Brandel, Mike Wex, and every other patron for supporting the channel. If you'd also like to support the channel and appear in the credits at the end of each video, check out patreon.com/thecanvas. Thank you.